I'm Pam Walker-Smith, your presenter for this subject matter, and my purpose and intent is to walk you through registering and up to solicitation in eProcurement. As a glance, what is eProcurement? There will be an overview. How to access the iSupplier portal and online bidding. How to register. How to view bids and solicitations. How to respond to bid solicitations, and answering your questions. I'm going to stick to the format of the presentation and try not to ad-lib too much because with their time constraints today. DPS's mission. DPS is the contracting authority for the procurement of goods and services for the city of Chicago. We work together as a team and with our customers, you, the vendors, to guarantee an open, fair, and timely process by establishing, communicating, and enforcing superior business practices. eProcurement was established in 2017. It is the city's financial management procurement system, also known as FMPS in Oracle. It applies the web technology to the acquisition of goods and services. The iSupplier portal is your full-service resource for vendors doing business with the city of Chicago. All of our bids and RFQs and RFPs are electronic and are advertised through eProcurement. You must be registered. You must be a registered vendor to access the iSupplier portal, online e-procurement system for all purchasing activities. As a registered vendor in the iSupplier portal, you are able to view and respond to bids and solicitations online, view orders, payments, invoices that are past or present, update your company information in your vendor record for contacts, addresses, phone numbers, and email. To assist the vendors with the transition to the iSupplier portal and online bidding process, we have a microsite website. It is your how-to manual to eProcurement. The web address is I use www.cityofchicago.org. The new web is both work, www.chicago.gov/eProcurement. When you bring up the microsite, I suggest that you bookmark it because you will be going there quite often until you get very familiar with the system. Security. Your information is secure, have no doubt. The city takes security seriously and ensures all information is encrypted. Our protocol is HTTPS:. Bid solicitations are not visible to employees or other vendors prior to a bid opening. Your active bid is secure. For first-time vendor registration, it's kind of twofold. Existing vendors with the city vendor number. You currently have a vendor number with the city. You've done business with the city before, being that you obtained a check from the city, from the Department of Finance. So you have a vendor number. So you are an existing vendor. New vendors are vendors that do not currently have a vendor number. What is needed as a new vendor when you register? Please upload a PDF of your company's W-9. The company name, and if you are using a DBA, must be on the W-9. And your 9-digit FEIN number that you're entering on your registration, as well as your company name, and if you are using a DBA, all must be on the W-9. Your registration and your W-9 must match. In the event that those two items are not matching, you will receive a notification to provide more information, and that information would be that it's not matching and you must make it match. This screenshot here is a, so the box comes up and I don't know how to make it stay. This screenshot here is part of it now. It's part of the microsite for which I gave you the web address for. And this is where you can request an iSupplier invitation. Here on this screenshot, we are showing you that our existing City of Chicago vendors often have business with our sister agencies. Be advised that if you have a vendor number or a certification with one of these listed sister agencies of the City of Chicago, they are not collaborating with our FMPS system for iSupplier. You must have a City of Chicago vendor number. So in the event that you are a vendor with the city, being that you have a vendor number, you would select the request the iSupplier invitation orange button that is below. It's going to take you to customer support, and customer support is going to take all of your information, and then it will go to another group, another data entry group, and they will input that and provide you with access to iSupply for our existing vendors. If you are a new vendor, you must click the orange button that reads New Vendor Registration. And again, please upload a PDF of your company's W-9. In the event that you may run across some matter of concern, you may not understand or you might not have it, you can send an email to our customer support at cityofchicago.org, and they will walk you through the process. This screenshot shows from the microsite. Pay attention to the orange ribbon at the top where it reads Home, Login and Registration, Current Bids and Solicitation Opportunities, my most favorite, Online Training Materials, Delegates, for which we will not talk about because it's not on the DPS department program. That's entirely different. And then your help. So here, this screenshot is speaking to current bids and solicitation opportunities. Here at the orange ribbon, the orange button that reads eProcurement Bid and Solicitation Opportunities, that button is what you will select to view our most current bid solicitations that are advertised in the Chicago Tribune. We will get a look at that. It also speaks to our pre-bid and our pre-submittal conference attendees, allowing you an opportunity to see what other vendors who attended this solicitation pre-bid conference that has the same interest as you. Oftentimes, not oftentimes, but there may be a time, it's not often as it was before right after we went into e-procurement, but non-e-procurement bid and solicitations, which are our paper bids, if we have one, sometimes it comes up that a department cannot let out a electronic bid and it may be a paper bid. It would be listed here where it reads non-e-procurement bid and solicitation opportunity. This screenshot is speaking to our list of current bid openings. As Jackie mentioned, when you sign up to DPS alerts, you are afforded the opportunity to receive our weekly bid opening listing. It is in kind to the current list of bid solicitations, but it acts a little different. The download of the current bid list opportunities is just that, a listing of our bids that are coming up. The current bid openings listing allows you to print and view and or print out the selected solicitation document. On our website, DPS procurement website, there's a blue ribbon there. Below all the words, DPS, Department of Procurement Services, just below that, this blue ribbon appears. The last line link is what we do. There is a drop-down menu there. Here, you will find just about everything you want to know about the Department of Procurement Services and how we do our business and what business has been done, like contracts, our emergency contracts. You can see here, you can select the pre-bid and the pre-submittal conference attendees. You can look at forms and the takeout list, which we will discuss. This screenshot is speaking to the current bids and solicitations opportunities, as I have discussed. When you click on the orange button, eProcurement Bid and Solicitations Opportunities, it's going to take you to what we call the abstract. Here in the blue area down at the bottom is the abstract. The abstract is the listing of our current and active bid solicitation. Here is where you get the same information that you would get on a bid opening listing every Monday that's advertised in the Tribune. But in this view, this is where you're able to click on the eyeglasses to the far right up under the column that reads details, and you are able to print off that PDF. We're going to go from left to right. The abstract informs you of everything that we need for you, vendor, to know pertaining to a specific solicitation that is coming up for bid. So I believe I have an example for you. I do, but at the top. But I'll go back one so we can look at the headers for the columns. So the department that's letting out from left to right, the department that's letting out this particular solicitation at the top is the Chicago Department of Transportation, CDOT. Its event, which is also type, contract type, it's commodity. We do not use program model. DPS does not. The delegate agencies may, but we do not. The solicitation number is the RFQ number. Your specification number is the specification number for the RFQ. At solicitation title, the specification number always precedes the description of the solicitation. The advertisement date is the date that it enters into the paper and viewable to the public. The supplier response start date is the same date that it hits the paper, which means that you can, once you are logged into the iSupplier eProcurement system, you're able to go and start viewing the documents electronically. The supplier response due date is the date that the bid is going to open. Protected markets we do use when we have a target market, a SBI, a small business initiative, or any of our other protected type market solicitations. It will be noted in this column. Deadline for questions is just that, deadline for questions. And what happens with that is you'll be in dialogue via online discussion with the procurement specialist pertaining to a solicitation. The process and procedure is that if you do not call the specialist, but to keep it transparent, you would document it. You would have an online discussion with and asking your question to the procurement specialist of this solicitation. And we'll take a look at that as well. Details to the right are the glasses. And what happens, you click on that and it will open up the PDF for you. When you want to print out that PDF, you will come here where it reads document PDF with the underscore or hyperlink here. You click that and you'll be able to print off the solicitation. Here, this screenshot is just a bird's eye view of the manner of which you can read either horizontally or vertically the same information that's on the abstract. And below these examples, once you click on the eyeglasses, this is the copy of the solicitation. Now, you've logged in. Well, you did your registration, be it a new vendor registration or you submitted a request for an invitation. Either way that happened, if you're registering as a new vendor or you sent in an email for request for an invitation, you're going to receive an email from Workflow Mailer. It is going to contain your temporary password. You're going to change that temp to a permanent. Now, be advised, if the email that you receive has the temporary password ending a sentence and it's a period there, do not copy the period. That's one. Two, when you create your new password, you cannot have duplicating alpha or numeric characters. So like my name, just Pam, P-A-M. Can't have two A's, two P's, two M's. You can't have 2 1s, 2 2s, and 2 3s. You can't. The system is going to reject it. So do not create your password with duplicating alphas or numerics. This screenshot is speaking to, after entering your temporary password, you will be directed to change it to a permanent password. And once you do that, it's going to give you what the landing page looks like. You'll have your user ID, which is generally your email address, and your new password. And you're going to enter it, and it populates to the next landing page, which is the home page for your Oracle. You will have 2 folders. One folder, and they're both yellow folders, and you'll have 2. And one is City of Chicago iSupplier Portal with Invoice Creation, and the other is City of Chicago Online Bidding. The first folder, City of Chicago Supplier Portal with Invoice Creation, results with what the bottom screenshot is. The tabs from left to right are Home, Orders, Shipments, Admin, and Finance. The Admin tab is the most important tab for you, not the most important, because all of these tabs have a function. The Admin tab is your vendor record. Now, here you can upload any documentation that you want the city to have in your vendor folder. Your W-9 is going to be there because it comes over from the prospective bidders when you register. When you, if you have requested an invitation, and once you get in here and you don't see that you have a W-9, you're able to upload it. If you have a colleague that needs to have access to iSupplier, you can add them as a contact if your address changes. Hear me say address changes, because what vendors do is they'll change an existing address. And we allowed that because we thought that it was going to be helpful within development and design. When we came new to the system, doing implementation and doing designing, we thought that, the vendors can change their address. Well, it's, or they can add an address. Well, it's not right now, currently here now since 2017 and now at 2022, it's not a great fail safe. And this is why. You have a contract with the City of Chicago. Finance, they already know that they generally send these payments out to Site A. The vendor goes in, because they have the ability to do so, and inactivate their address at Site A. When what you can do and should do, if it's not a secondary address, but it is your permanent location that has changed from to, just change the address. Leave everything else as it is. But if you create a new address and you inactivate the address that we have on file to send payments to, now you just messed up your ability to get paid, because then a lot of things happen behind the scenes, including calling you to find out, but that's on finance. So I really am not inclined to this behavior, because me myself, if I was the one that was looking at this record, I'd have to go and see if they inactivated an address site that's listed on the contract as the pay site and make it right. So that's just what I do, but not everybody may not do that. If you others who also work within the system, when it's time to troubleshoot, may see that you have you changed your address. No, you inactivated the site code, because you have the ability to do that. You inactivated it. They may not go look, they just may approve it. And then a payment come up in the Department of Finance, and they can't pay it because it reads inactivated. We have to reactivate it. Guess what happens? Your payment is going to the wrong address. It's going to the wrong address because they're selecting the address that's on your contract. So just be real careful with changing addresses and in activating contact people, because the contact person that is selected within the system is tied to the contract that's in the system, right? So when finance goes to make payment and the contact name is inactivated, then they get another error message. They stuck again because the contact name doesn't match. It's null. It brings back a null value, and they're unable to complete their task to make the payment. So they're just trying to do their job in the Department of Finance, but they can't because they run into a snafu. So we're trying to figure out how much credence should we give the vendor when it comes to changing addresses and inactivating. Change of address is perfect. Inactivating them is not. Inactivating the contact name is not really a good thing. You can add a contact name, and you can let us know that you want to change the contact name for a particular PO, and we'll take care of that if you inform us. But if you don't, and we see that it's been inactivated, we get calls from DPS gets calls from finance to help Cecil help. Your second folder, which is most important to you, would be the City of Chicago online bidding folder, because this is where you're going to click on the sourcing link, and the sourcing link is going to drop down to two more links, and the one that you're going to utilize is the sourcing homepage. Here in this example, at the bottom where it reads negotiations, it's blank because it's brand new. But as you begin to utilize Oracle and view and talk to the specialist via online discussion and fill out the solicitation that you may have an interest in, your pages are going to start to fill up. At the top, there's a screenshot of what reads work list. The work list is your home to how much activity you've had with your particular solicitation. It'll come back with you have an online discussion with the specialist, or please respond to this question, or your solicitation has been actively submitted. That's your readout of the activity that you've had within within eProcurement. You don't get readouts, updates for iSupplier portal with invoice creation on this page. You won't get that. This work list sheet is all things pertaining to e-procurement. Now, this is a table legend. The legend has more information on it, I want to say, than the screenshot does. But I'll go through it. At the bottom, you see 2 tabs. One reads requisitions, you will not have access. The other is negotiation. Negotiations is where you have information pertaining to the activity of a solicitation that you're interested in, right? So number, the first column, is your response number. Here in this example, the first one reads 6443, 1. The comma in the number means that it's an addendum. Following the legend, it reads response status, but this screenshot does not have a status. We will see one in another screenshot. The supplier site, we don't use that. The solicitation number is your number that is to the left. It is the same as, well, I'm sorry, this screenshot is not matching actually the table that's provided below. So I'll just read the screenshot. So the number is the solicitation number. The title is the specification number with the preceding description of the particular solicitation. Type, they're generally always RFQs, which is a request for qualification. And of course, an RFP is a request for a proposal. Your time left means how much time do you have before the solicitation closes. Your role, you are a member. Responses, that means there are 4 responses to this one solicitation. They're not your 4 responses. It's 4 vendors are interested in this solicitation. You're going to get to where see here where it reads search published solicitations, the word number, drop down menu, white box. Hit go. That's what this is up here. When we went from regular paper bids and the old way, when we came over into e-procurement, all the terminology changed. It was confusing for a long time, but square now. Title, that's your specification number. Sometimes, most often, we receive trouble tickets that a vendor cannot find the solicitation. And it's generally because they go to the first word in the drop-down menu and they input the wrong number. So title means specification number. So if you want to search by the specification number, you select title. When you want to search by the RFQ/P number, please select number, put the number in the white field box in the blank area, and then hit go. And it'll populate the RFQ, which is below. Let me see. So I'll go through this with you because this is actually the legend area. Response number. Once you have been in the RFQ, you've been in the solicitation, You just went there. You went there, you opened it up, you read it, you clicked some pages, you saved, you entered something maybe, you saved it. Once you save it, you get a response number. The response number is your number to the particular solicitation. Your response status should be active when you want to submit the bid solicitation. If it reads draft, which is not a response status in this example here, that means you have not completed the solicitation. We often get calls about that. The vendor, I don't know where at in the area of the solicitation that they thought they may have submitted it and that it should be active, but it reads draft. That is your sign to know, if your response status is not an active one, that you have not completed all the pages to the solicitation. And the very last page at the end is where you're able to submit and obtain an active status. Resubmission required is very, very important. This means that, and you should get an email and an online discussion notification that an addendum has occurred. And when an addendum occurs, that is when you're going to see a response status of resubmission required. In this example, the response number is 119113 resubmission. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. The response number, that's the response from you, the vendor. The response status is resubmission required. The solicitation number now has a comma 2. Now, you may have missed, haven't been back in the solicitation since its originating number 6187, and now it's a comma 2. What that means is that when you go in, when you click on the solicitation 6187, comma 2, you're going to have to acknowledge, comma 1, and comma 2. But it's simple. It reads right through it. It lets you know in the system what the addendum is, and do you acknowledge it? Yes. And then it'll go to number 2. What it is, do you acknowledge it? And you say yes. And now you are in draft until you get to submit. This is an initial view of a solicitation, this screenshot. So when you search and when you search for your RFQ number and it populates, this is the page that you will get. Please select your number, just hit select key and respond. Select and respond. That immediately takes you, vendor, to the takeout list. Now you, vendor, are on the takeout list for this solicitation, whether you did anything or not, whether you touched it or click once you got inside. If you didn't do anything, you're on the takeout list as a reviewer, right? So, which is a good thing. Now, what happens with that is that lets other vendors know that there's competition here. There's other vendors that are also interested on this solicitation, and it's good for you as well, because like I showed you where you can go to what we do, you can look at all the vendors who else is interested in the solicitation. Now you're inside. The first thing you're going to get is our disclaimer. So you read the disclaimer, and then you check the box and you select accept. And now you're in the meat of the solicitation. In this example right here, you're going to have two tabs. Your first tab is your header tab. Your second tab is the lines tab. Your header tab is your tab of information. It's information from the department about the solicitation, and then there are requirements. Requirements is the sole responsibility of the vendor. To the right, you will see the white boxes. There's either text in there, and then there are yes, no answers. No field must be blank. If any of the white boxes are not filled in, you will get an error message at the top of the page. It'll read warning, and it'll tell you what has not occurred, and you adhere to that. Because if you do not, you are non-responsive. When you have to upload your documents, here on the header page, it says attachment, add attachment. This is where you're going to upload your EDS certification, your insurance, your insurance certificate, your signed document, and anything else that is a requirement from the vendor, any incentives that you may want to partake in. You have to upload them based on what the requirements read for that particular solicitation. You can do it here at Add Attachment. And you can add another and add another and add another until you're done. Your second tab is your lines tab. And that lines tab is where the calculation is for the proposal page. This is where the money is being added up at. The system does it itself based on what the solicitation is, the type or the event as it is. They're all written differently and have a different I'm just, for lack of a better word, mechanics to how it works when it gets to the lines tab, that you are going to only enter in where the white box is at. So for this example here, it wants a quote price unit for as an each being the unit of measure for an estimated quantity of 1,000, or the second line reads 60,000. What you're doing is you're saying as the vendor, I can provide 4 each of with the estimated quantity, and the system is going to do the math, and you don't have to do the math at all. Once you input all of your figures and you hit save, it is then going to give you what your quote number is. For this example, it reads 87026 for RFQ number, following with the specification number and the title of the solicitation, and it's informing you that has been saved as a draft, not submitted, not active. It's a draft, and that's what it's going to be in the response status on the first page when you log in. Items to note: this will speak to no paper bids, addendum, responses, group bids in our help. So responses must be submitted through eProcurement. There are no surrogate bids. No paper bid responses are allowed. Addenda: acknowledging the system and on provided acknowledgement forms, if any. Responses: fill out the PDF forms, scan and upload as an attachment, and also fill in the total price in the line provided. Submit detailed pricing on the sheets provided, and for RFPs, enter 0.01 and entering pricing sheets on provided. So for our RFPs, there is no bid. You're not bidding on anything, but you have to submit your pricing on the pricing sheets that are contained within the RFP paper, the document, the electronic document. But when it gets to the lines tab, that white box cannot be blank. So you must enter 0.01. For groups, again, all lines must be bid on, right? Even if you're not bidding, but the space can't be blank. So you enter 10 zeros and a 1 here. 0.10 zeros and a 1 for all lines in the group. So even if you're not bidding. If you have issues or matters of concern, please contact our help at 312-744-HELP or contact our customer support at cityofchicago.org. Online discussion. So two things here. You see at the top where it reads warning, and it reads warning that this RFQ has been amended, and to be considered for award, you must acknowledge. So the vendor, in this example, the vendor, it just skipped all the parts and was just wanting to put their bid in and didn't acknowledge. But here, there's a warning saying, hey, you didn't do something, so adhere to any warnings that you see. Now, at actions to the far right, there's a drop-down menu. It's a lot of things within that drop-down menu as well. But this example is speaking to online discussions. Your online discussions will be with the procurement specialist. Now, let's just say that the solicitation that you're interested in, it had a pre-bid, and you met the using department engineers and the project manager or the project person for that particular solicitation. You may have met the department head or whomever is there from the using department that's letting out the contract. They're not your go-to pertaining to anything about the solicitation. You must talk to the procurement specialist. So you would go to online discussion and hit go, and it's going to bring you to this screen here, and you're going to do new message. And then the message, you're going to enter the solicitation number with the spec number and its title. And then you put in your message. Okay. So in this example, you see that there's been a back and forth between the DPS specialist and the vendor. Now the vendor has gotten to the last page where they want to actually hit submit, but they can't because the error message is coming again, stating that there's an amendment that requires your acknowledgement. And do you want to proceed? And of course you do. Please select yes. And once you've done that, you get to the last page, and that is where you're going to sign it, and then you're going to hit the submit button. And once you hit the submit button, you'll receive this document here, which is the confirmation of your quote submittal. It will arrive the next business day, not the day that you actually have an active solicitation. But the next business day, you'll get an email of a confirmation of your submission. And again, make sure that your response status is not draft unless you're not going to bid. If you went through all the documentations and you did upload and you change your mind, you know, your boss said, oh, we're not going to bid on this, you can leave it a draft. But if you mean to bid on it and it reads draft, go back in to the very last page of the documentation and sign it, and then the submit button will highlight and you're able to select that button, and then your response status will be active. This is a screenshot of the microsite, the www.cityofchicago.org/eProcurement. When you get that, once you go there, please bookmark it, and so that you'll have it at your ready when you need it. On the left side, it's all about registration and your profile. Your profile is your vendor record. And also, you want to look at if you are a vendor with the city, you've done business many years ago, but you haven't done business since then. Your old purchase orders payout, they're there, and you can view that. And anything that's new, if you awarded a contract and payments and releases have been made, you can look at your purchase orders from as well. And if you're stuck about it, you can come here to registration and profile updates, and it'll walk you through. And this screenshot is speaking to where the red circles are. It's speaking to the vendor, to your vendor record. Anything that for which is written, your text, you click on that and you'll get a Word document, a PDF document uh, of explaining whatever the subject matter is. If you hit video, you can watch the video. If you select video, you can watch the video. The center is all about financing, and because procurement does not do finance, we cannot speak to that. But once, if you had any questions pertaining to this, once you selected like purchase history or purchase orders or receipts or either one of these subject matters, finance should have a listing in here as to whom your contact might be. To the right is your supplier response submission. Now, we often get phone calls about this, everything that I've just talked to you about. Everything I just discussed here in this workshop are answered right here in the supplier response submission area. So like how to submit a response, and how to the FAQs. Now the FAQs are very, very important. And generally the first addendum to an RFQ are questions. There are questions that are asked by many vendors, and all of the questions with the answers are compiled, and then they're entered as an addendum so that everybody receives it at all at once, and that there's no one question answered. All the questions received by the specialist within that time frame when it says deadline for questions. Once all of that is received, then it is compiled and is turned into an addendum. So know that generally that first comma one after the RFQ number is generally the question. And then the bottom is about detailed delegate agencies. And because we are not a delegate agency department, we don't speak to the delegate agency process. That would be OBM. And when you are, if any of you here are a delegate agency like company, like non-for-profit, then they also would have a listing on this microsite at the home page of when their trainings are going to be or when their workshops are going to be. So the microsite is a very advantageous website for you being a old vendor with the city or a new vendor with the city, because the process is all electronic now. And so even though we are 5 years in, we're still learning and we're still enhancing this system and its program. And my own opinion, I love it. I love it. I love it. It's I love all things technology anyway, but yeah, so it's very advantageous for you. So please do bookmark it when bookmark this microsite. And if you have any questions, please contact customer support if you have any issues, or call 312-744-HELP. This is the time now that you may ask your questions if you have any via the chat panel, or whatever was the manner that Jackie said to do so. And this completes my presentation, and I hope that I gave you all the information that you were looking for.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pam, for that presentation. This is your time, as she has indicated. For you, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A panel at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. I see somebody did put something in the chat, so I will read that one. But if you can put your information in the Q&A panel, we'll answer those questions, and I will send you some links in the chat panel. The first question for you is, can more than one person work on different sections of the RFP at the same time?
Excellent question. And the answer is no. Once you, the initial enterer, the initial one, has to complete it. If you have to go on trip, if you have to go away from the solicitation and you're unable to complete it, you print out those pages that you filled out and give that to the person who is going to be able to submit it, because they're going to have their own login ID. We can't cross the information from the RFQ to the user ID. The initial individual who started the solicitation must complete the solicitation. And again, in the event that that cannot happen, you can either give them your login, which we don't suggest that, but you may have to. And if that's the case, then do so. But if not, add them as a contact and give them access to eProcurement, and then they can go in and fill and continue where you left off, but they would still have to start from the beginning. But they'll be using your informational sheet. So like the white boxes, and if you put yes in there, just take a screenshot and give it to them, or print it off and give it to that person so that they can fill it all in. That's how the system works. It does not allow for crossover. It doesn't do that. Next question.
And that's the only question that we have in the, someone sent that personally to me in the chat panel.
Okay.
But if there are no further questions, if you would like to say any last minute tips or any information, while we give them a few minutes, if they have to write a question, we'll give them a few minutes to do that.
Just be mindful. Just be mindful about no duplicating for your password, so that you don't run into a hiccup there. And a screenshot is missing. So when you get to the last page where it's going to tell you can submit your bid now, it doesn't say that verbatim, but you'll know that you're at the last page. At the bottom of that page is where you're going to do your signature, right? So there's a top button that you must select, and then there's a bottom field that you must enter your name in there. You would think that you can just select the top, you can select the checkbox area and then enter your name. No, enter your name first and then select the box, and the submit button will highlight. if you do it wrong and if you click the checkbox first and then you put in your name and your title, and you see that the submit button is still not highlighted, just reverse it and put in your name first and then the checkbox, and you'll have the ability to select the submit button. And remember, guys, response status is active, means your bid has been submitted. Draft means it has not. Resubmission required means you have to acknowledge the addenda. Those are my tips.
Thank you so much, Pam. One last thought.
Last thing. No. Last thing. For when you are registering as a new vendor, you have to upload a PDF of your W-9, right? For solicitations, in the white box where it's requirement, you must enter your EDS number. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. That's great information. And she's giving you those last few parting words, so that's special. And if you have no further questions, we'll go ahead and say that this ends this presentation. So I want to thank our guest speaker, Pamela Walker-Smith, for taking us down the journey for eProcurement 101. And I want to thank you all for participating. I say stay safe, stay well, and looking forward to the days that we can in-person workshop and or you can come and visit us at a vendor fair or a construction summit in person. Thanks so much. Stay safe and stay well so we can do that. And we'll see you at the next one. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.